situation.
Stronger rules to protect our economy. Always.
Agreed.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Senator Cramer of North Dakota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I cannot resist getting back to the issue of energy. You said a couple of questions ago that that oil producers in the United States didn't adequately anticipate, or something to this effect, anticipate the robust return to demand, and that as a consequence, they did not respond by producing quickly enough. Is that basically what you said?
Well, prices were very low for a time. Many energy companies suffered losses. I think they were gun shy about putting themselves in a similar position, and so they cut production and investment, and were probably surprised to see the rapid recovery and run-up in oil prices that resulted.
Since that time, though, there has been a run-up in oil prices. I don't necessarily agree with your assessment of the situation there, but giving you the benefit of the doubt, let me tell you what else they respond to. They respond to chilling market signals being sent by this administration every single day. And this hearing is a pretty good example of it. When I look at FSOC action on climate-related financial risks, it is one message after another after another. Do not produce more oil in the United States of America. You've got John Kerry running around the world saying, don't buy ours, buy somebody else's. You've got the moratorium on federal drilling. You know, now they open up 20% of the available drilling, but then they announced that they're not going to allow any drilling on the 20 acres that are open for easement, or 20% open for easements. But FSOC itself, including the SEC evaluating these disclosure rules, these are chilling messages. The Fed, with its two committees to better understand climate risks and incorporate committees into supervision of financial firms, even the Department of Defense, as we evaluate the National Defense Authorization Act, the President's budget, 5 times in his opening statement to the Armed Services Committee, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin used the word climate change 5 times. 5 times. Well, there's a war being fought in Europe where energy has been weaponized, where this administration itself has helped weaponize oil. And you know you know what else? Earlier, Senator Cortez Masto said inflation started with a $1.9 trillion tax cut, and that they're what led to an economy. Let me tell you what they led to. They led to an economy where we became energy dominant, because not only did the previous administration cut taxes, it cut regulations. And we became the #1 producer of oil and gas in the world. And our dominance at that same time lowered greenhouse gas emissions. If the goal is better climate action, produce more in the United States. We are living at a time when our friends in Europe are pleading with us. They voluntarily have cut themselves off from hostile energy production in Russia and other places. This administration went to Venezuela for help. And then they went to the SPRO, to your point. And now we have, not completely depleted, but less oil in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve at a much higher price to replenish it. It's done nothing to help inflation. It's only helped drive up costs. I could go on and on. I don't want to be the person that doesn't give you a minute to respond to all of this, but I'm all for aspirations. And I think a 2050 fantasy is a great aspiration. But there's a 2022 reality facing the American consumer, facing the globe, facing national security, international security. And I just think let's get every regulator back in their own lane, and let's deal with the reality in 2022. I'll give you a moment to respond.
Well, I agree with you that there is going to be a transition path with respect to energy, and I don't think that anybody believes that we can switch completely to renewables in the short term. But the current situation certainly emphasizes the need for energy production now from fossil fuels. It should remind us, especially coupled with the increasingly dire predictions of scientists, that our grandchildren won't be able to have an inhabitable planet if we don't address the risks associated with climate change, we should not lose our focus on the need to transition as rapidly as possible to a path in which fossil fuels play a much less important role. And financial institutions themselves have recognized this. There's an alliance called GFANS that almost all the large American banks voluntarily signed up with, that they've pledged voluntarily to align their own lending portfolios with a net zero by 2050 approach. So medium term, we need to move away from fossil fuels. Short term, obviously, we have a problem.
And in the transition, though, we ought to be producing more American fossil fuels, because as we produce more American fossil fuels and sell into the global marketplace, we reduce the emissions. We create a transition that's both useful for the investor and useful, perhaps, for those who are worried about climate change. And I've gone over my time. Appreciate.
Thank you, Senator Cramer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Smith from Minnesota is recognized from her office.
Thank you, Chair Brown, and thank you, Secretary Yellen. It's wonderful to see you.